There's power in taking a photograph. There's power in being an artist.
It's the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast.
All right, thank you for joining us for yet again another podcast for Phoenix Film Revival. I'm your host, Daniel Iannicone, and today we have on Lucinda. I'm terrible with names. Is it Garderas?
Yeah, you got it.
Hey!
Garderas. Yep, pretty good.
Awesome. So Lucinda's an amazing photographer. I've known her for a little while now, and she's got some amazing work. Goes different places, shoots different films. I think she's got a goal to shoot pretty much every stock that's out there. And even the ones that don't exist somehow. But amazing photographs. So I was wanting to kind of hear a little bit about her and what she's all about. So there's a lot of work that you've done. How long have you been shooting film?
Film probably going on a year and a half.
Okay. That's not super long. And you've got
Although
quite a bit.
I did have a Polaroid camera in high school, so
Still counts.
still counts, right?
Yeah. So I guess, is there a film type that you haven't shot before?
Oh gosh. I've been trying to get my hands on some F-key Aura, which is like a long discontinued infrared film.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't shot that, and I definitely check eBay all the time to see if I can find some.
Yeah.
But not yet.
Yeah, I see you've got quite a bit of experience with the Lomo. Have you shot pretty much all of what they have to offer?
Yeah, most of the Loma, I've shot the red scale. I got into the turquoise when they initially re-released it recently, and I've shot quite a bit of that. But I also like the red scale film too. It's pretty neat in the right, environment. Lomo 800 is also one of my favorites.
Yeah, Lomo's pretty great. I love the 800 speed. Some reason I feel like it performs better than most some of the other Portrait 800, but that might just be me.
Yeah, I don't know. The colors on it, I really like. And they say it's an old Kodak stock. Not quite sure. Nobody knows exactly what it is, but
yeah.
I've always kind of wondered, maybe it's like Ultramax 800, which used to exist, or something like that.
Yeah. That film stock is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So you've shot color, black and white. I see you've done slide photography. What's your favorite stock to shoot with, or do you have one?
Oh boy, yeah. That honestly, it changes all the time. Right now, now that I'm kind of doing a lot more portrait work, I feel like, not to sound, like everyone else, but portrait really is an awesome film stock for portraits. Just the latitude on it is tremendous, and I really do like it. But to be honest, I don't have a favorite. I'm always experimenting with different types of films, and I'm always trying to find discontinued films online, and try those before, you can't find them anymore online. So
Absolutely.
I don't know. I like to get a little experimental.
Yeah. Most people that I've seen shoot, they pick a stock, and that's their stock that they go to. But yeah, I see you've got quite a variety, both color and black and white, and you're pretty much 50-50 on Instagram. I think there's a little bit more color, but
Yeah.
What's your go-to format? Is there one? Do you have a preference?
I do. I right now anyway. I'd have to say, I'm really into medium format and 6x6.
Yeah.
Since I recently purchased a Mamiya C330F, I'm just I love the 6x6 format,
That is
and
a
I love that camera. It's awesome.
it's a hefty camera, but it does take
Oh
really
boy,
good pictures.
it's not like the best hiking camera, but it's worth it because some of the lenses for it are amazing.
Yeah, that particular camera's it's interesting. I've got a Rolly, and the Rolly you're kind of stuck with the lens that's on it. But the nice thing
Hmm.
about the Mamiya that format at least you can change out your lenses. Do you have just
Yeah.
the one? Do you have one lens for it, or did you get a pack that has like a different like couple different lenses for it?
So I have the 80
Okay,
f2.8, and I also have the 180 um, right now. But I want to get a 55 millimeter because I do like shooting wide quite a bit.
okay.
So that's probably my next purchase, actually.
Yeah, it's nice to have a functional camera and then just get like additional lenses for it. I think Stacy's kind of struggling with that with her cameras, where she bought a camera and then it's kind of like the lens was uh, like $400, but the camera was pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I think that was from Mamiya 6.7 or
Oh, the
the
Pentax.
Pentax 6.7.
Yeah.
Um, but um, yeah, it's just kind of bummer because it misses a few frames here and there. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, that's my other main camera. I love
yeah,
that camera.
yeah, that format's awesome. It's so
Yeah,
sharp and so clean too with those lenses that you get.
I know. Yeah, the lenses really are amazing for that particular camera.
Yeah. Um, have you shot any large format?
Yeah, so my partner Nate, he's primarily shooting large format now. Um, so I basically been using his camera to fill it out to decide whether or not I want to make the purchase and start shooting large format too.
Yeah.
Um, so he's got like four large format cameras now. So I just kind of been using his and experimenting a little bit with it. But I'll tell you, like, we've got to have a lot of patience for large format. And
Oh
I
yeah.
just, yeah, I'm kind of on the fence still about it because I don't know if I have the patience for it quite yet. And, I've only been shooting for a year and a half. So I feel like it's in the future, but I'm just not ready yet.
Yeah. Well, based on your work, it looks like you've been shooting for quite a while.
Oh,
you
thank you.
you definitely have invested some time and effort, and you've definitely got it down. So it's
Thank you.
awesome seeing your stuff. So as far as film and camera, we kind of have a little bit better understanding of what you prefer. As far as places to go, you've been, I feel like, everywhere.
Yeah.
With a lot of the photography that you shoot, what sort of places do you travel to go shoot to?
So recently I took a trip to San Diego. Actually, most of the time there I spent in La Jolla.
Okay.
And then on the way back, I stopped at Jacumba Hot Springs because I had done some research. A lot of what I do is I'll go like on Google Earth and just kind of look for things out in the middle of nowhere
Yeah.
and try to see if I can get to it or, you know,
Yeah.
hike to it even. So I stopped on the way back at Jacumba Hot Springs, and I had known about this spot where there's these abandoned trains or rail cars. Um, and I parked, probably a mile and a half from where the rail cars were, hiked out to it with my dog, and yeah, it was really cool actually. I got quite a few shots from there, and it's just really beautiful out there.
That's crazy. Yeah, I see that. These were just abandoned rail cars. They were just like discontinued,
Yeah, I
useless, or
guess there's not a whole lot of information online, but apparently like this town in Jacumba was supposed to be like kind of like the Palm Springs. And in the 30s and 40s, like a lot of like celebrities and actors and stuff would go there to the hot springs. And yeah, now it's just totally abandoned. And it's interesting for sure. There's like a ton of trestles, and I guess the actual trains have been there, from what I've read, since like the 1930s.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a while. And yet they're still there. I'm surprised they haven't, like, somebody hasn't come along and caught them on fire or something. But
Right. Yeah, I know. I'm surprised too. They're pretty beat up, but and overall, I mean, they're still standing. So,
yeah, true.
yeah.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know. You used Google Maps to plan things out.
Yeah, Google Earth for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. Is there a particular place that you have that's your favorite that you've gone to?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I don't know that I really have a favorite. I've kind of been, you know, exploring as much of Arizona as I can, because I am probably planning on moving up to Washington in the next year or two.
Okay.
But I don't know that I really have a favorite. I've been taking a lot of trips, there's these small towns kind of in the middle of nowhere, Miami, which I know you're familiar with,
Oh yeah.
Superior. Yeah, I just like exploring like these small towns in Arizona that have a ton of abandoned things, but also a ton of history.
Yeah. I like that. You also don't have like a particular time of day that you shoot based on your photos. It's kind of like all over the place. Like,
Yeah.
morning, evening, like there's like golden hour, like blue hour, like any
Yeah,
time is a good time to take a picture for you.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, I certainly do have like my preference. Like I love shooting at blue hour, and
Yeah.
I also really love taking long exposure shots. So nighttime is probably my favorite time of day to shoot, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, nighttime's a good time to shoot. I think more people should shoot at night. There's a lot that comes out in film and
Yeah.
digital, just those long exposures. You get to capture so much more that your eye doesn't quite see. It feels like so like there's just so much more to night photography than really that meets the eye. So
Yeah, absolutely.
well, you shoot quite a bit of film, and if I recall correctly, we had you had taken one of the workshops at the lab with some friends a while back,
Yeah.
and you basically took up processing yourself at home. What sort of processes are you familiar with, and then is there a preference that you have as far as how you develop your film?
Yeah. I decided to take a class with you back probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, just because I was tired of, paying $20 a roll for developing and
Yeah.
scanning, and then getting my scans back and just, not being terribly happy with them. So yeah, I mean, now at this point, of course, C41, ECN2, slide film, I'll do E6 and black and white. And now I've kind of been into cross processing, slide film with ECN2, or even C41. I've been doing that too recently.
Yeah, that ECN2 process is just crazy.
Yeah.
And getting when I heard about that process, I think I heard it from you, cross processing the ECN2 stock slide film into ECN2 chemistry.
Yeah.
Just the results that you get, it's insane. Like slide film, you don't typically get that wide of a latitude. You're kind of stuck
Right.
with it, but yeah, that process is beautiful. And
Yeah.
Atlanta Film Co. Like we had chatted on a podcast previously about the Euphoria film,
Right.
or Euphoric. I always mess it up. Is it
Yeah,
Euphoria or
Euphoric.
Euphoric? Okay. Yeah, which is essentially just Ektachrome and then developed in ECN2 chemistry. Like the shadows are still pretty dark,
Yeah,
but the like midtones and highlights you can actually recover, which
absolutely.
just insane.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Like, and it, a lot of people are just intimidated by developing at home, and it really is easier than you think.
Yeah, I think the probably the most challenging part is what loading the film, if
Yeah,
that.
that was the most challenging for me, for sure. Like using that dark bag, especially here in Arizona in the summer when it's hot and sweaty in the bag, and
Oh yeah,
you're trying to load the film. And yeah, I mean, I've gone through quite a few roles that I, pretty much butchered, but now I'm like, I can't even recall the last time I messed it up. So I don't
yeah.
know. There's
Becomes
definitely a learning curve, but
yeah.
once you get all of what's needed, all the equipment, then I mean it's really pretty easy. You're just following steps basically.
Yeah, it's almost become second nature. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like when I load up film now, I can hold a conversation without any challenges. And I feel like when I first started doing that, I had to focus and make sure that I got the film onto the reel properly. And now, as you go on, it just becomes easier and easier. It's like riding a bike and then improving upon that. So,
That's funny. I'd considered developing while we were going to have the conversation to get a roll on. But
so what you developing right now?
yeah, I
Yeah.
have a couple roles, but yeah, it really is. Like I encourage anybody who messages me on Instagram, like, is it hard to develop film? And like, what do I need to do it? If anybody ever has any questions, like, please reach out to me because I'm more than happy to help, because I was overwhelmed at first. Like I would, you're kind of scared. You don't know, you don't want to mess up your film. But it really is a lot easier than you think.
Oh yeah, for me that's the way it was for me. I was developing black and white film, and I thought color was so much more challenging. I thought you had to have special equipment, and the chemistry had to be
Right.
at perfect temperatures. And a lot of the
Yeah.
older people that I talked to, their big thing was critical about temperature, but they come from a commercial background, um, not from like home processing background where
Right.
it's not as precise, so you're going to have some deviation in color. But I don't think anybody here is really that critical of having the exact color, because
Right.
there's so many variables with film that you're going to be able to compensate with it and get exactly what you want or get close to what you want when you go to shoot and develop at home. So, and some of the labs aren't even consistent at all. They have old equipment, and their staff may not be trained to properly do those processes,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's just kind of the downside. It used to be very available and competitive, and now the competition in commercial processing has kind of shifted. So, but anyways, that's a whole rabbit hole of conversation. But home processing, like you said, it's not as challenging as it seems.
And it's fun. Like, honestly, I get teased a lot sometimes, like online. People are like, wow, you went home and developed that already? It's
Uh,
like a 3 hour, from when we were hanging out, and I already have developed it and scanned the photos. It like I can do a few rolls probably and scan it, let it dry for like 45 minutes, probably in like an hour and a half.
yeah. Got to have
But
instant gratification with film.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. For me, developing is fun. I enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And some people, I don't enjoy scanning as much, but certainly developing, I do have fun with it. And
Yeah.
it is at this point second nature. So
Yeah, I have yet to meet anybody who really is just like gung ho about scanning.
right.
It's definitely it's one of those things that just the processing aspect is hands on, but once you start to get it into the computer, then it's a bit of a challenge to a roll takes an hour to get really good shots off of. So you have to
Mhm.
you have to scan it in, which takes about a half an hour to get it into the computer, and then
Right.
you have to clean up and adjust, and so it's going to take another half an hour at least
Mhm.
to finish up that roll. So it's a scanning that end of things is a bit of a challenge. Have you ever printed your work before, or is it mostly you
Yeah.
scan in?
Yeah. So I do have a dark room set up in a spare bedroom in my house. Um, so my partner and I have printed quite a bit. Never color, but yes, we do print black and white.
Okay. And you mentioned you also do infrared film.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things to shoot. I really do enjoy shooting infrared.
Okay. Um, there's also yeah, infrared is interesting film to work with. There's the HIE film. That's a
Yeah.
interesting stock. Kind of hard to find that film. I think it's like, was it $40 to $60 a roll? Probably more than that now.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. I think anywhere between $30 and $50 a roll. I fortunately got a few rolls in a trade with someone recently who just wasn't into infrared. So we traded and I shot a few rolls of it. Actually, I shot one roll of it. I still have another roll that I'm going to shoot. Um, but yeah, something about that film is like it's it's so different than like Rolly has the IR 400 film, and it's really sharp, and it is a fun film to work with. But with the HIE, it's really just this like surreal, dreamlike sort of look to it.
Yeah.
With the halations, I think obviously plays a big part in that.
Yeah, it's interesting because the HIE is definitely a grainy film. At least it is now. I don't know what it
Yeah,
was like when it first came out, but
right.
anything that you get now, it's going to be pretty
Grainy.
expired. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, even besides that, that anti halation that's not there, so you have that glow to the image. Um,
Hmm.
it's like partially the glow there because you kind of have that with like Cinestill because the remjet's removed, but
Right.
with it's interesting because it's with like a particular color which would be your greens, and the greens
Right.
just glow that much more. So any
Yeah.
plant life just glows so much.
Yeah. Like I took a shot out in the desert with it, and there's a saguaro in the shot, and it's just glowing white. And I don't know, it's different, it's unique. It's sad that they don't make it anymore.
Yeah, I think yeah, it would be nice if they brought that back. I'm curious what the original like use was, like specifically um, with infrared. I haven't really dug down that, gone down that route to like learn it more, but curious what application there was that was out there that was, hey, we need infrared film, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a fun film to shoot though.
Yeah, most of what I've seen online about like the infrared films, even aerochrome, um, the military used for like aerial applications.
Yeah, I did hear
Yeah,
that. I guess that would make
yeah,
sense to kind of be able to photograph an area from above and then see if something stands out rather
right,
than, you don't really have that with normal film. Um, but it is interesting because you start to think a little deeper on how film works and
right.
how, how is the film doing this? And it's interesting that there's one of the things that I've explained before to people because it kind of popped in my mind one day and I thought about it. And black and white film still, it doesn't see black and white. The film
Hmm.
in a sense sees color, and it has to translate that. So um,
Right.
so a lot of people don't realize that you have to have a film that's balanced properly to
Hmm.
take in those different color spectrums and present a good image. Otherwise, you'll have areas that look too dark, um, and it's most film, panchromatic film, is supposed to be you're close to what you see visually,
Right.
but black and white, and it's kind of hard to explain. Like
Yeah.
orthochromatic, you're losing part of the spectrum, and in most cases it would be red. So infrared, in a sense, is interesting because it makes the greens just pop that much more. So
Yeah.
there was some expired black and white film that I got from school that were bulk loading, and it was really interesting to see how it performed. I was out taking pictures, just experimenting with the film, double checking the proper ISO to shoot it at, and I shot this plant next door at Pueblo, and it was just glowing. And I was like, is
Oh,
this
really?
film like infrared? Like, is there something
Yeah.
special about it? It was so strange. And I thought I had underexposed it, but I didn't. So something
Oh.
about that film is kind of interesting when it comes to black and white. But
Do you know
anyways,
what film it is?
I think it's like a Arista EDU or ultrafine.
Okay.
I think it's ultrafine. Um,
Okay.
but just a run of the mill panchromatic black and white film, nothing special to it, and I don't know if age can cause the halation to change, but
Yeah,
um,
maybe.
I don't know. It's kind of strange, but it is fun to shoot. So I think we have that
Cool.
labeled as the Gila monster. Um,
Nice.
so I thought that would be a
Yeah.
fun one, but um, yeah, film is definitely fun. Different types. There's just so much out there. Have you ever tried doing the reversal yet? Reversal process for black and white?
You know, I haven't. I was actually talking to a friend, my friend Nick, about that recently, because he tried it, but I haven't. Have you?
No, I haven't either. We are planning on doing a workshop soon on it, so I actually need to brush up on that. But it's kind of a cool thing. Scala used to manufacture a black and white film that you can get, and
Yeah.
my friend Danny used to shoot that a lot, and he showed me some years ago, and it was black and white slide film, and he shot medium format, and I was just looking at these photos and was just blown away that they were black and white
Yeah.
positives. So um, that's definitely a process that you can still do. You have to get the right kit. So it's not quite the same as it used to be. The recipe, I think, has changed a bit, but you could technically
There's a,
take like T Max or Ilford, whatever stock, and then shoot it and then develop it into a slide.
I know ADOC sells like a reversal kit online that I've looked at before. So definitely, like, I would love to try it. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, we do have the Bellini kit, so I'm gonna be probably cracking that one open.
Oh, nice.
If you have any black and white you wanna, we can test out the kit.
Yeah, that would be fun.
There are a few films that they recommend that you use that will yield better results, and I guess it's just the way the silver is in the film.
I
Um,
think I think I might even have some that I purchased a while back from FPP.
oh, okay,
Yeah, I'll have to look through my film in the fridge. It's completely taking over.
yeah, film fridge. Um,
Yeah.
there's a photographer that I follow. I always want to say her name's Lisa. I think it's Lena Bessanova. Do you follow her?
I think I do. Yeah.
She had done some stuff. She does like weird alternative process. She's over in Italy, and she does emulsion. So like she'll coat rocks and then expose to them, and then develop that into an image. But I found that she was doing the reversal process for black and white, and she was actually pouring acrylic on it and turning the images into like necklaces or like charms or whatnot. Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
so it'd be interesting to find some sort of application to encase it and preserve like black and white slides, and I don't know. There's so much with film I want to like experiment with.
Yeah, me too. I think my next thing I want to try is cyanotypes.
Yes, cyanotypes are fun. Um,
Yeah.
Definitely worth experimenting with. There's a lot of people who go different routes with cyanotypes. Um, you can do like more like photogram style, which essentially you're just putting objects on top of the cyanotype
Right.
and then exposing it that way. And then there's others who actually go down the route of um, using negatives, digital negatives. So they'll take an image, convert it to a digital negative, balance it
Hmm.
properly, and then
Yeah.
create an image. So um,
Yeah. I was thinking about maybe doing that with like I shoot Polaroid a lot. I have an SX70. And I was thinking of maybe, taking that into Photoshop and reversing it and then using that for cyanotype.
yeah, yeah, I think that would actually come out looking pretty awesome.
Yeah, that might be
The
interesting.
mixed formats.
Yeah.
Um, you had mentioned that there's a recent image on your Instagram that you wanted to talk a little bit on. I think it was a little waterfall.
Yeah, so I actually recently bought an ND filter, and I went out to this beautiful park in Prescott called Fane Park. Um, and I took this shot and used a 10 stop ND filter, and I thought it came out pretty interesting. I've never really done a ton of like photos like this. So it was just kind of fun to experiment a little bit with the ND filter, and you you get that look of the silky looking water. And
Oh yeah, yeah. It's kind of like something that fine art photographers do for any sort of water scene. It's always
yeah.
motion there.
Hmm.
It's almost like clouds sitting on the water.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
So that was your first time experimenting with, you said, an ND filter?
Yeah, I don't typically I haven't used ND filters much, but now that I have one, I definitely want to experiment a little bit with them with some landscape stuff.
Yeah, that'd be a good direction to use those. Um,
Yeah,
so I mean, that's a whole. I mean, it's crazy how you can take something so simple, and then just it opens up your photography that much because now you're shooting with that tool and you're utilizing that tool to kind of expand this direction that you go in. You're kind of focused in on, how would using an ND filter improve certain shots, and you can experiment
yeah,
with it and then start to see how it changes things. Um,
yeah, absolutely. And I think people are like intimidated by doing like long exposures. It seems like because I get a lot of questions online where it's like, wow, how did you do that? When I went to that spot, like it wasn't even well lit.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, well, it was a minute long exposure at night.
yeah,
Um, so,
yeah. It's just a
but it's
matter
fun.
of getting enough light. I mean, it's just working with what you have, and sometimes you don't know if it's going to come out, and you just kind of gotta hope it does. Hope you get some sort
Yeah.
of result.
Well,
Um,
yeah, long exposures are cool because it kind of require you to use your imagination a little bit and sort of anticipate what the effects of time and movement will be in the image. So,
yeah, yeah, especially with reciprocity failure, which is kind of a complex
yeah,
subject for some people. Um,
right.
I think my buddy Ryan, I mean, he shoots a lot of night photography as well, and he's like, I don't know. He doesn't even say reciprocity, right? He's reciprocity.
Oh, yeah.
um, and I mean, night photography is just one of those ones that you really have to just experiment with it in order to get a result. Um, and and then you kind of just doesn't if it didn't quite come out bright enough, you have to shoot again and then just adjust for the time.
Bracketing.
Yep,
Bracketing is your friend.
that's true. Yeah. um there's
It's funny you say that because like he can't say reciprocity correctly, but his shots are like amazing. He's
yeah.
a great photographer.
Yeah, I'm like, that's another thing. Yeah, Ryan's great. He's definitely a photographer. I don't feel him to be a salesman. And
Right.
I think a lot of people have that challenge with photography. They're just amazing photographers, and they deserve so much more recognition. But they're not trying to optimize their likes or their
They're not out
yeah
there making reels every other day.
yeah, trying to keep up with the traffic and everything,
Yeah,
which
the algorithm.
yeah, it's like it would be nice if we all had our own salesman type, not so much to sell. I think I've always been kind of shied away about the
Yeah,
idea of selling, because if your stuff is good, you shouldn't need to sell it. But
exactly.
it's it's uh, it's kind of representation too. I don't bother with dressing myself too much, unless I
Yeah,
have to. So,
right.
there's some stuff to that. So, but there's definitely a lot of people out there that do really good work, and um, should definitely deserve more representation of their work. So,
Absolutely.
um, but yeah, I just there's just so many awesome shots. Like it's all print worthy stuff too, I think, that you
Thank
have.
you.
There's one that you recently did, which I really liked because of all the leading lines, which was this one of like a staircase.
Oh yeah, the long exposure. Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know why, but that one caught my eye, just because there's so many leading lines to it. And
yeah. It's probably one of my favorite photos that I've taken. It's over on the ASU campus.
yeah, it's like I don't know, just crazy shot. And then you have like this security camera just like hanging out up on top of the building.
I
Uh,
know. Yeah.
and like most like architectural stuff tends to look better. Well, it's obviously um, personal preference, but most shots are easy to get with architecture in black and white, and color translates a little differently. But for whatever reason, like the night photography, when you get the sky that's like not white, it's actually like
Yeah.
colored, and then you have
Hmm.
like the foreground, everything else is lit, and it like balances really well. um
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, night photography in color is just something else.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think that exposure was like 35 seconds long. It really wasn't
Jeez.
a well lit area. So I didn't really know how it was going to come out. I took two shots, and that was the one that looked better in the end. So
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. um
yeah, thank
so
you.
so do you sell your work?
I do. I have a print shop, Darkroom Tech print shop.
Awesome.
If you go to my Instagram, there's links for that. I also have a website. It's just lucindagarderis.com.
Okay.
Um, so I do sell prints on there. And I also do portrait work. I have some portrait work that you can see on my website and on my Instagram. I'd like to get more into portrait work. That's something, over the next year or so, I'm going to focus more on.
Yeah, I think your portrait work would probably, I'm sure it would improve, like just based on your landscape and
Hmm.
everything else that you've been doing. I'm sure your portrait work will improve, like just I don't
The
know,
more
I
you
don't have a
do it,
word. So
yeah,
quickly. Um,
yeah, definitely. The more you do it, I mean, I think the better you get at, whatever you're focusing on. So ultimately, I want to focus on that. I've done portrait shoots for bands and artists. I really enjoy doing that. Um, Creatively, when I grew up, I was always kind of interested in photography, but I had a Polaroid. I had like a Sony Cybershot, in
yeah.
high school, um, and I was always interested in it. But I grew up being a musician, so my focus was playing in bands, and um, I never really had the time to get into photography because I was primarily doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's so many routes you can go with photography, and it's just like anything else, you just need time and
Yeah,
uh, in this case, film and
exactly.
chemistry and stuff. um, Portraits, I like portraits. Portraits are probably my favorite, I think.
You've you've been
For
doing a ton of portraits.
Yeah, it's we have the portrait booth that we do, and that whole process is so enjoyable. I think I enjoy, I don't know, it's one of those things, like the creative aspect is kind of evolving for me, because I've never been a creative photographer. At least it doesn't feel like it. I feel more like interested in the process, all the technical aspects of it. Like,
Yeah, you're very technical.
yeah, it's like, for what, I don't know what it is. It's just the way my brain works. But I want to make sure, like, mastering like the technical aspect, and then also being able to do it loosely. So there's like, when I first started, it was more like, get it exactly right, follow it by the book. And then my friend Danny taught me how to do color film, and he just filled up a bucket of water with hot, just hot tap water. I was like, no,
Yeah.
this is perfect temperature. You don't have to be that critical. And then it kind of changed things for me, and I'm like, oh, okay. Of course, he's more dust and scratches are totally cool, and there's other people out there that are like, no, 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 no.
Right.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna spot every photo I have before I
I
post it.
hate dust. Yeah. I mean,
So there's everybody has their own preference, but
for sure.
there's the technical aspect of things, and I've always wanted to improve upon it. But what's awesome now with this portrait booth is that I can kind of, like, it's not so much about critical thinking about and being focused on the technical aspect as much as the creative aspect now.
Right.
Like, it's all like the technicals, muscle memory now, and the creative
Right.
aspect is
You
like,
have
how
that
can
down.
how can I make this better in a non-technical way? Like, you have all the tools, you have the control,
Right.
you're in full control of the image at this point. And it's just a matter of like going from there. So I feel like just like with anything else, it takes time to improve your work. But yeah, I'm excited for you and your portraits.
Thank
That's
you. Yeah.
it's definitely exciting to go down that path. And I think the fun thing about portraits is, like, everybody could use a portrait. Like,
Absolutely.
doesn't matter who you are, everybody can appreciate it, because they don't have to like landscapes or like be in a certain place.
Sure.
It's something intimate about portraits that I appreciate. Getting to a chance to photograph someone and take that moment with them and capture their likeness. That in this instance, this is who this person was. So
Absolutely. And like, I really enjoy like seeing all the portraits you've been posting. Like, they're really good. So I wanted to let you know that.
thank you. I appreciate that. Our little photo booth thing works so great. Stacy does the developing, I do the shooting, and
Yeah.
I could not, like, as much as I like the technical aspect of developing,
Hmm.
Stacy is just the master at it. I couldn't stand there and develop. I'd be like so frustrated over time.
Absolutely.
And
I get that.
I've done that before too. When that photo booth first started, we would or I would, by myself, because this was way before I met Stacy. I would just basically set up the booth and then shoot, and I charged $5 a portrait at that point in time, and I would shoot to just regular paper, and then develop that, dry it, pull it out, and then I would do a contact print back onto the same paper, because I didn't know the
Right.
direct instant positive paper existed.
Yeah.
And for some reason that was an easier process, even though it took like 3 times as long. But it's, practice makes perfect, and a lot of time has to be invested into that in order to grow. And I don't know, I'm pretty slow with comprehension in some ways, but once things start clicking, then it's hard to not be in that spot to where you kind of know what you're doing. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but you don't comprehend it, you just know it. if that makes
Right.
sense. So
No, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. So like recently you went to like a moto show and you took like this old military camera.
oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. How many shots did you take?
We ended up shooting 198 photos. We got scanned out of that.
Wow.
Which was insane. I thought we would get more. And technically we did. There were probably, I want to say 5 or 6 frames that had to be sacrificed because we had to cut the 100-foot roll down into 6 individual rolls. So there was a frame that we were like, well, we'll take multiple photos of people. So that way, if their frame is the one that gets cut, then at least they have a backup. So
Bracketing. There you go.
yeah, pretty much. We're bracketing for the sake of destroying one of their shots.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, what we could do is just tape them back together and then scan them, and then that just is going to be where it split. But I didn't quite get there. But we did end up shooting 198 exposures and getting scans from those.
You scanned them all already?
Yeah, we scanned all of them. We posted it up to it took like after the moto show, we ended up going straight to the lab right down the street and then developing. And so Stacy developed all the rolls that she shot when she was walking around, and then I developed some film as well and did some of the black and white. So altogether, I think we have a photo on our Instagram, which is like, I think it was 12 rolls or 15 rolls or something like that. Some crazy amount that was sitting out on the table. And I was like, that was a lot of work.
Yeah, you guys are crazy. That's a lot.
And the fun part was like, we weren't 100% sure that it would work.
Yeah.
I mean, we did some tests and stuff, but it's just kind of a ridiculous camera. Just like, I mean, to photograph something onto film and then like, I don't know, just that whole process is just kind of crazy. But I want to make.
Where did you find that camera?
We actually so Stacy and I were we like to go to the antique stores just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And we were at Call It Antique, and which is in Mesa, and up on a shelf was this like tripod and this bag that had some weird thing in it, and Stacy mentioned, hey, I think there's a camera over here. Of course, my eyes light up and I run over and pull the thing off the shelf. And
yeah,
I'm like, all right, I got to understand what the heck this thing is. And I look at it, and I could obviously see it's a tripod. And I was like, wow, this is perfect. We need a tripod like this for our photo booth. And then I noticed that the tripod also has this thing attached to the end in that bag. And I pull that out and I look at it and I go, okay, well, I think I could read it. It said Graflex photo recorder. And I'm like, is that, I couldn't quite make out if that was a camera or a projector or, what exactly it was. So I looked at the lens, and then I'm like, okay, it looks like this is there's a lens here, but there's no body to this. It's just like this weird lens that's on this contraption. And then there was a magazine that came with it. And I'm like, okay, so that must be where the film goes. And it started to make sense. And then I looked online and I looked up what a Graflex photo recorder was. It was kind of hard to find, but then I found an image of what it was. And I did a little research and I was like, oh, this is a camera that shoots a 100-foot roll of film. And then coincidentally, we had received all that film from the school that was closing their darkroom. So I'm like, this is perfect. I don't have to buy any film.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, that camera is just crazy. We set it up for what was it, for a meetup, a photo walk, and then the photo walk got rained out, but we still ended up taking some photos. Not nearly as much as we did at the moto show, but definitely a fun camera to shoot with. And I want to figure out some sort of application. It would be nice to have an automated booth where you could just like go in and take portraits.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just a dual action lever that goes on there.
Okay.
But yeah, so many different cameras out there, and that one
What
was definitely a fun one to play
what
with.
year is that thing from? I know it. I mean, it looks pretty old.
I want to say like the 30s, because
Okay.
this particular camera was designed for people who are getting onto boats and getting shipped off in the military. So
Oh, okay.
I want to say World War II era would be my guess, because that was the easiest way to document people quickly
Sure.
and identify, this is this person being leaving. Um, so they would ship off a whole platoon and photograph everyone getting on the boat. Um,
How large are the photos?
so the photos are actually the same. They're 35 millimeter. So
Oh, they're 35. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, they're 100 feet.
yeah.
Yeah, 135.
So yeah,
Okay, cool.
crazy. One roll will fit between 650 to 700 photos. So
Wow.
I mean, I thought I had challenges, developing a roll of 36 exposure, but I mean, that whole camera setup, it's a little bit more challenging to finish a roll.
Yeah, for sure.
But definitely a fun setup. It worked out really well. I'm still trying to think of like different applications, because you can't quite utilize the film in such a way that you can instantly get a print. Like you can't use it as like a traditional photo booth. So
Okay.
it's got to be more of like an event situation, and then you get pictures later. So that's kind of how we did it. And then we posted up on our website a link to everyone's photos, and then they could just
Yeah.
download them from
No,
there.
that's really neat.
But yeah, cameras. There's so many different cameras out there.
I know. Camera talk.
But yeah. Well, hopefully your portrait work picks up, and you have fun with that. Was there any particular direction that you wanted to take your photography besides portrait work, or do you just kind of want to just keep shooting random
I
stuff?
think I think because I grew up being a musician, and creatively I have a lot of friends who are musicians, so I'd like to just shoot a lot of band and artist portraits and for press work for them. And kind of get more into that.
Yeah, that's definitely I've shot some concert stuff before,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's actually been really enjoyable, to be able to get up close to the stage and photograph. Um, the I had a friend who was recording for or not recording, but he was doing work for Metal magazine. So
Oh, okay.
he would write the article, and then he would invite me to come with him to go shoot the photos. So I would shoot photos. He would write the article, like a review about the
Nice.
band,
Yeah.
and then would submit that to this Metal magazine. So it was really fun because there was a couple dozen bands that I got to go photograph and get like right up close to the stage. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I recently shot at a music festival out in Tucson
Oh,
called
okay.
Hoco Fest.
Yeah.
And that was a ton of fun. Just, being able to shoot all the bands that were playing and experience it in a different way, not, just as a fan, being up close and
Yeah.
hanging out with these different artists and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've seen some of your band like work. There's one on your Instagram that's that you have pinned that's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was Sierra Farrell. That particular shot was at the Crescent Ballroom. She asked me to come out to photograph her set.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know, just you got awesome stuff. So many photos.
I know.
I like didn't even know you were a musician. Like looking at your photos, I'm like, wow, you've got the eye, but apparently you have the ear as well. Sounds like.
Yeah, not so much anymore, but yeah, I mean, pretty much up until a couple years ago. Basically, when I stopped playing music, that's when I really dove into photography. There's just not enough time to do everything. I have a lot of interest, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of music, and I think being able to also intertwine photography with it would be fulfilling for me.
Absolutely. I think the direction that you want to go in is definitely definitely something that you can grow into. Being able to shoot bands and still be involved in music as well as your photography.
Absolutely.
Definitely be rewarding for you.
I agree. Thank you.
Well, is there any other things that you want to include in on this podcast that you know of?
No, I mean, if, anybody's looking for portraits, you can look at my work on my website and check it out on Instagram. I'd love to work with you. Or if anybody has any questions about developing or, I don't know, long exposures, and message me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. And I know I love helping out with stuff like that. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's we definitely need more community. And
absolutely.
helping others is definitely a rewarding thing. It's enjoyable for me to be able to help others with photography. So
Yeah,
sounds
you've
like
helped me a ton. So
yeah.
well, hey Dan, like asking you darkroom questions or film questions, like
Yeah,
you're the first person I think of because I know that you'll know the answer.
I'll either know it or look it up somewhere,
Yeah.
or be able to tell you somebody who might know better than me. So
Yeah, well, you're so technical, and I'm not as technical. So it's good to have someone to be able to reach out to with those technical questions.
absolutely. I'm more than happy. There's some people that are more technical than me, and I'm always like, wow. There's so many people out there. It's always
Yeah.
fun meeting people who know so much. So
Absolutely.
but I'm glad you're willing to help others, and I'm excited for your photography to grow and continue. Appreciate you being on our podcasts, and I'm hoping that you can be on again soon. If I know of any bands that need portraits, I'll definitely send them your way. And if there's anything that you need, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lucinda. And until we chat again.
All right. Talk to you soon, Dan.
All right. Thank you.